You scroll past someone your age running a team, closing deals, getting promoted, and you're sharper than them. So why are they moving and you're stuck? Here's the part nobody told you. The workplace doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards a very specific kind of visibility, and most sharp 20-year-olds break the unwritten rules in the first 6 months without knowing the rules exist. J. Paul Getty, the man who was once the richest person on the planet, wrote about this in the 1960s, and almost nobody under 25 has read it. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 4 traps that punish smart young people in any office, why your sharpness is actually being used against you, and what the people climbing past you already figured out. Stay to the end. The last trap is the one most people don't even know they're in, and it's the one quietly deciding your next 10 years. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. The better you are at your current job, the longer you stay in it. Getty wrote about this directly. He said the most ambitious mistake young people make is becoming essential in a role they want to leave. Sharp 20-year-olds here be indispensable as career advice. They optimize for it. They become the person who can fix anything, the one who covers for everyone, the one the team can't function without. And then they sit there for 3 years, watching less competent peers get promoted past them. There's a name for this in organizational psychology. It's called the Peter Principle's evil twin, the plateau trap. If you're the only person who can do your job, your boss has a problem when you leave that role, so they don't move you. You become a load-bearing wall. Walls don't get promoted. Walls hold up the building. The peers gliding past you understood something you didn't. They trained their replacement before they ever asked for a promotion. They made themselves easy to lose. That's not laziness, that's strategy. Getty called it engineering your own scarcity in the next role, not the current one. Now here's what most people get wrong about this, and we'll get to the bigger version of this trap in section 3 because it gets darker. If this is landing, save this video. You'll want to come back to this in 6 months when you feel stuck and can't explain why. But the indispensability trap is only half the danger of being sharp, because there's a second trap that punishes you the moment you open your mouth in a meeting. Sharp 20-year-olds love meetings. They've finally got a stage. They see the problem nobody is naming, they have the cleaner solution, and they speak up. They think this is what gets you noticed. It does, just not the way you think. This is what Robert Greene called Law 1 of Power, never outshine the master. But Getty had named it 20 years earlier in a chapter about why brilliant juniors get quietly buried by middle managers. He observed something most ambitious young people refuse to accept. Your boss is not evaluating you on whether you're right. Your boss is evaluating you on whether being around you makes them look good or bad. Behavioral scientists have a term for the emotion this triggers in your superiors. It's called threat rigidity response. When a manager feels their status is threatened, even by a 22-year-old in a meeting, they don't think, wow, this person is talented, let me promote them. They think this person is dangerous to me. And the brain processes that threat in the same region that processes physical danger. The amygdala, they are literally afraid of you. They will not promote a threat. They will contain it. You think you're impressing the room. You're actually triggering the dark triad reflex in the person who controls your raise. The narcissistic wound, the Machiavellian self-preservation, the cold calculation of this person makes me look slow. Here's the specific move sharp 20-year-olds make that kills them. They correct their boss, in public, with a smile. They think being right is enough. It's not. Getty wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, the man who proves his superior wrong in front of others has won the argument and lost the career. Drop in the comments, have you ever corrected someone senior in a meeting and watched the room go cold? Be honest. Most of us have done it once. The smart ones only do it once. The fix isn't to play dumb. The fix is what Greene calls the controlled reveal. You let your boss think the insight was theirs. You hand them the credit. You make their status rise when you're in the room, not fall. That's not weakness. That's the chess move that gets you placed somewhere you can actually use your sharpness. But this leads to the third trap, and this one is the real killer. Because even if you avoid outshining anyone, there's a story you've been told about work since you were a kid, and it's slowly draining your 20s. Here's the story you were sold. Work hard, be loyal, pay your dues. The company will take care of you. That story was true. In 1962, for your grandfather. When pensions existed, when companies treated tenure as an asset, when staying somewhere 15 years got you a pension and a watch. That world is gone. And the part nobody tells you, most companies still use the script. They still talk about loyalty, family, dedication. Because that script gets you to work weekends for free, accept the raise that doesn't beat inflation, and turn down the recruiter call out of misplaced guilt. There's a concept from behavioral economics called sunk cost fallacy. The longer you stay somewhere, the harder it becomes to leave, even when the math says you should. 3 years in, you've built relationships, you know the systems, you feel known. Leaving feels like betrayal, so you stay another year, and another. Meanwhile, the data is brutal. Studies consistently show that switching jobs every 2-3 years in your 20s produces salary growth of 10 to 20% per move. Staying loyal produces 3%. Over a decade, the loyal employee earns roughly half of what the strategic mover earns. Half, your loyalty isn't being repaid, it's being priced in. Getty understood this brutally. He said wealth is built by people who treat their labor as a commodity they sell to the highest bidder, not as an offering they give to the noblest employer. The companies treat your labor that way. You should too. That's not cynicism. That's symmetry. Here's the dark psychology piece sharp 20-year-olds miss. The bosses who guilt-trip you about loyalty are running a Machiavellian play. They know they can't pay you what you're worth on the open market, so they sell you a story instead about meaning, about family, about belonging. Stories are cheaper than money. The 22-year-old who buys the story stays. The 22-year-old who reads the story leaves at the 18-month mark with a 15% raise. You're not betraying anyone by leaving. You're refusing to subsidize a balance sheet that wouldn't subsidize yours. And this connects to the fourth trap, and this is the one most people don't even know they're walking into. It's the one that decides whether you spend your 30s owning something or owning nothing. The final trap is the quietest. It hides as a virtue. Sharp 20-year-olds love to execute. They love finishing tasks, ticking boxes, closing tickets. They take pride in being the one who actually delivers while everyone else talks. They think this is the path up. It's the path to being kept where you are forever. Getty wrote something that almost nobody quotes. He said, every organization is divided between those who do work and those who own outcomes. The doers are paid in wages. The owners are paid in equity, status, and decisions. Most ambitious young people spend their entire 20s on the wrong side of that line, getting better and better at doing, never realizing the people promoted past them are getting better at taking credit, owning narratives, and being seen as responsible for results they didn't personally execute. Behavioral psychologists call this the attribution gap. Humans don't reward whoever did the work. We reward whoever the story attaches to. The person whose name is on the email when good news lands. The person who was in the room when the decision happened. The person the CEO mentions by name. If you're a sharp 20-year-old grinding on tasks while someone else owns the narrative around those tasks, you're building their career, not yours. You are the writer ghostwriting somebody else's book. The shift is subtle, but it's everything. Stop asking what work needs to be done. Start asking, what outcome am I going to be credited for, and what room do I need to be in for that credit to attach to my name? That's not manipulation. That's how every executive you've ever heard of operates. They were taught this. You weren't. Now you know. Here's the hardest part to swallow. You can be the smartest, most ethical, hardest-working person in your office and still finish your 20s broke and unpromoted because you optimized for the wrong variable. Sharpness is necessary. It is not sufficient. The variable that gets rewarded is positioned visibility for the right outcomes in front of the right people. Getty knew this when he was 25. You were not taught it because the people who know it don't teach it. They use it. If something in this hit a nerve, that sense of I've been walking into this and didn't have a name for it. This channel exists for that exact feeling. No fake positivity, no grind harder cliches, no 4 a.m. cold shower nonsense. Just the rules of power, status, and money that nobody sat you down and explained. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next one shows up when you need it, not 3 months after you needed it. We're building something here for people who can tell the difference between motivation and the truth. Here's the one thing to hold on to. Your sharpness is not the problem. The system you're using it in has rules you weren't briefed on. That's not your fault. But from this point forward, it is your responsibility. The 20-year-olds gliding past you aren't smarter than you. They're just playing a different game on the same board. You don't have to become cold to win. You have to become legible, visible to the right people, indispensable in the right rooms, loyal to the outcome instead of the employer, and standing next to the credit when it lands. That's not betrayal of who you are. That's translating who you are into a language the system actually rewards. If this hit, my video on Robert Greene's Law 1, Never Outshine the Master, goes deeper on the visibility paradox we touched on in Section 2, and it'll make this whole framework click. That one's next on the channel. I'll see you there.